Hey, Cracked fans. We wanted to thank all of you that have taken the time to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And in honor of your efforts, we wanted to do things a little bit differently with our Cracked Interviews podcast. We decided, since we are certainly capable of it, that we were going to turn to a video format for today's episode. And that is why we are so excited to bring you the interview I just did with a woman we affectionately call B-Dog here at Cracked Racquets. You, of course, know her as a 9-time Grand Slam champion, Olympic gold medalist, host of the ATP WTA news show Tennis United. Bethanie Mattek-Sands joining the show for the third time to talk about her new Tennis United venture, what it's like to go from interviewee to interviewer, and all of the fun that goes into making an ATP WTA player-only production. She also talks about what life has been like for her in quarantine, itching to get back on the court to play competitive matches. She also takes the time to break a little news as she confirmed the existence of a Laver Cup-style Team women's event in Charleston scheduled for this June to air on Tennis Channel. I know that is the sort of event we can all get excited for, and I promise all of you should be excited to hear this interview we do with B-Dog because she is always such a spectacular guest. So with that in mind, let's get to my conversation with the one and only Bethanie Mattek-Sands.
Please, 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 himself. But right now it's star time.
Joining us on the podcast once again today, you of course know her as a 9-time Grand Slam champion, an Olympic gold medalist, now the host of the brand new ATP WTA show, Tennis United, and of course someone we affectionately refer to on this show as B-Dog. Bethanie Mattek-Sands, welcome back to the show. How are you holding up?
I am doing great. I'm hoping this B-Dog kind of nickname catches on, but I appreciate that. No, I'm, in Arizona living my best life right now. Things are great. I'm training, I'm practicing, enjoying food being cooked for me, and uncorking some wine at happy hour. So it's been a great few weeks at home.
Yeah, I have some Kemosabe questions for you. Rest assured,
right.
I'm sure they've come out.
Let's do it.
But to your point of life in quarantine, and you've been keeping busy. I feel like you have not taken. Some people have maybe slouched back a little bit. You're hitting all of these new ventures. That has to, staying busy. Is that a strategy?
Yeah, you know what? I actually trust me. At the end of my days, I've thought about this. I'm like, how did I pack everything into this day? And then I look at my schedule for the next day. I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? But then, okay, I think about that for a second. And if I'm real with myself, I do enjoy things. Like, I'm really this action-oriented person. Whether I played tennis, whether I did something else with my life, I like being active. I like doing new things. I like trying new things. And it's, for me, once the tennis tour got canceled, there were a lot of other things that I could do. There was a lot of ways to fill my time. I'm not one of those people that you were going to read online on social media saying I was bored in the house bored. Definitely not me. I found plenty to do. And really, again, we talked a little bit on last podcast. I think this is a great time for some personal reflection, a massive reset, and that's kind of what I'm doing. But no, I've been super busy, and I've really enjoyed doing it. Don't get me wrong, I have some time for myself. I start my mornings pretty easy. I still do like my power hour, my meditation. So I feel like I can garner all my energy and then do all the things I do in my day.
Yeah, no, it's working. And I heard you say in an interview recently, it's about who you surround yourself with as well to feed off that energy. And it sounds like, as I've enjoyed all of the content, you guys are killing it. And you talk about trying new things. We figured for the trilogy episode, part 3 of this podcast, we'd go on video. And let me just say, you look even better than you do on TV via Zoom. So it is great to get to do this.
The Zoom is helping me out here. I love it.
Yeah, the trophies are intimidating, so, I got to kiss up a little bit. But
right here, I got my Aaron Rodgers football helmet right here, signed. A few trophies back here. Yeah, no, and honestly, I'm looking at you with a green screen behind you, so I'm kind of excited to see the finished result and what the editors are going to put behind you.
Yeah, it's probably just going to be floating photos of you, like, here and there. Or maybe, like, Jamie Murray here, and then, like, Mike Bryan there, Sam Querrey, and then your newest partner, Alex Gruskin. And I'll just be in the center. Just like, hey, guys.
Perfect. I can actually visualize that. So I feel like the next step for me, though, is a green screen, because I would get pretty creative with it. So I'm just saying.
No, and you definitely have a need for one now, because let's start there. One of your newest ventures, hosting Tennis United alongside of Vasek Pospisil. And let me just say, I frequently watch the episodes because they are so entertaining, and I was watching episode 6, and just the first 2 minutes, because when you're doing content, the first 2 minutes you got to draw people in, right? You guys going through reviews you read on YouTube, and then your response to him when you go, Vasek, I thought you were going to be timid, but you're actually pretty funny. I mean, I could have just stopped right there, because that was amazing.
Here's the deal. I knew Vasek, but I really didn't know him that well. Like, obviously, we see each other every week at the tournaments, and I've said hi to him a few times here and there, but when you're doing a show together, you're like really getting to know someone. I mean, there's like kind of that on-screen chemistry you're going after and that banter. And so over the weeks, I was getting to know Vasek. So it was pretty funny, actually, what our initial reactions of each other was. And I mean, honestly, he kind of came off as a little bit shy and reserved, and he kind of admitted that. So he's like, no, but once you get to know me, this is how I am. I'm like, okay. So it took me 6 weeks.
And what have been the joys of those first 6 weeks? How has Tennis United developed? Has it been fun?
Yeah, actually, it's been awesome. I mean, really, at the beginning when we had this idea, I thought, I raised my hand immediately. I was like, I'm in. I think this is a great idea. Men's tour, women's tour coming together, especially in this downtime. I mean, what a moment to do that. And actually talking with all my friends on tour, on both tours, women's tour and men's tour, it's been kind of nice. Like, we actually all realize how much we miss each other on the road. It's really funny, because when we're at tournaments, we're all kind of in the zone. We got our game faces on, and it's not like we go into these like deep conversations at the lunch table in the players lounge or anything, because we don't. We all like have our own schedules and routines, and either we've won a match, lost a match, things like that. And so I think it took us all like having this break, and a few of the players like came on the interview, they came on the Zoom call, and they're like, hey, it's so good to see you. And it's true. Like, I think everyone, all the tennis players, don't get me wrong, are enjoying this downtime at home, because it's something like when we're on the road, we're all kind of wishing we had that. And now that we've been home for a while, I think everyone's kind of getting a little itch to travel again, just because that's what we're all used to. But this show has really brought us all together. I think the goal, at least for me, was to really show the other sides of all my friends on tour and all these players. I think tennis, the fans really only see one side of these players a lot of times, and it's just like that, beast mode, game face, and that's about it. So I'm hoping that we can get some more fans for these players, just getting to know them a little bit more, knowing their backstory and where they come from, what their personality is, what they like, what they don't like. And I mean, it's been interesting for me. Look, you know me, I've always been pretty outgoing, so I think it's kind of nice to bring the other side of this out in other players as well.
I'm curious, for you, going from interviewee to interviewer, what's been the most difficult part?
The most difficult part, I think, is being really concise with some of your questions, because I think when you are being interviewed, they are actually looking for you to expand on your thoughts. Like, when you're on the desk, or when you have a microphone in your face, they don't want like 1 or 2 word or 1 sentence answers. They're looking for you to be a little more flowery and conversational. And I think when the roles are reversed, there's times where it's good to be conversational, and then there's times where it's like, all right, Bethanie, you have to like answer the question precisely so that they know what to respond back with. But I think I've kind of done it in my own way, because I know all these players. I've actually wanted it to be a little bit more conversational. I think whenever you can get that kind of energy on camera, it's more authentic, it's a little bit more real, and I think people can relate to that. And that was one of the things that I wanted to shift. Even when look, I've done, I don't know how many thousands of interviews I've done, and been asked the same questions, and it's just a little stiff. And I've always wanted to kind of go away from that. And so now that I have the chance to be a little bit more conversational and, ask some fun questions along with some serious questions, I think it's great. And honestly, I'm pretty surprised. Like, a lot of players will kind of go both ways. Like there's serious questions in some of these interviews, and then a lot of times there's like, what are you doing for fun? And I think we hold a really good balance between both, and that's one of the things I was aiming for too. I mean, look, I'm a pretty fun, relaxed person, but if there's someone who wants to get down into the mental nitty gritty, like I'm there too. I think it's all really interesting. So that's what I'm looking for, kind of on the other side of the camera.
Do you think it's easier for you as someone who has been in the interviewee's shoes, as you mentioned, someone who has probably given a fluff answer or two over the years? Can you recognize,
Never.
and I'm sorry for swearing, yeah,
Never.
but can you recognize if someone's bullshitting you? Is it easy for you to say, like, I'm just going to use her as an example, like, Shelby, I was with you at that tournament. That's not what happened. Like, are there things like that where do you feel as though you can get a more depth in the answer, I suppose, from the player because you have that related experience of also being a player?
Yeah, I definitely. Like, look, we all kind of know the questions that we're going to get asked. And I think the biggest thing is that the whole idea of when I have a friend of mine on camera, like I want to bring the best out of them. And I think when we have that conversation, that's what, like, I'm not looking to stump them with a question, and I'm not looking just to get a sound bite or a quote. Like, it's a real interaction, a real conversation. And they get to, if they want to talk about their charity, if they want to talk about their dog, if they want to talk about tennis or don't want to talk about tennis, like it's all good. And I think that's what is helpful when you want players or athletes in general to kind of open up. Like sometimes when you don't know someone in the media, you're just not sure what angle they're coming at. And I know almost everyone on tour who's done enough interviews has been burned somewhat here and there, just whether it's a little bit of a misquote or a misrepresentation on what they meant. And I think sometimes players actually are less outgoing then because of that, because they're just trying to be careful with what they say. They want it to come across the right way. And I'll put it on the reporters a little bit too. Like the questions I think are sometimes a little too generic. Like there's been times when you talk about giving a fluff answer, like I've been asked a question where I'm like, I legit can't even be entertaining with this answer. It is like, I have to give you like, yeah, I gave 110% out there today. Like, I don't know, like what, like you have all these cliche athlete responses and, my opponents played great. I just happened to be the winner today. And, and that's all good and fine. But I think that's why, what I've kind of done is, ask some questions, had someone answer them, and then kind of based on what they answered, like I kind of go along with that. I think sometimes when we've done interviews, someone will have like A, B, C, these are the questions that I want to talk about. And so they'll ask a question, maybe someone gives a great answer, and then they'll switch topics and go to another one. And if you're not used to that, which, I mean, at this point, I kind of am, but if you're not used to that, you're kind of like out of your first answer, and then you're like, oh, we switched to, my next opponent. And half the time, I promise you, I can tell you the answer of what all the players are going to say. And they're just like, well, I've known her for a while, or I've played her in the past, or I'm going to go have my coach watch some video. And like, you can't really get super creative with that. So I kind of want to put it back on the interviewers and the media that are asking questions to really be engaging and ask questions conversationally, because I think that's how, these athletes you're gonna get better answers.
Mm-hmm. And believe me, I have some questions I hope you haven't heard yet in your career for you later on today.
I've heard a lot.
Yeah, no, I'm going to get creative, trust me. But, you talk about that, and there are so many fantastic personalities and just individuals in tennis, and that's part of the glory of an individual sport is there are 500 different stories you could turn to that you would just be fascinated by, a player's background that you could have never imagined that player from those circumstances becoming a professional tennis athlete. And so to try and share those stories, I imagine, is something that appeals to you. And I don't know, do you think there's an untapped potential in terms of the questions you can ask players? Do you think players aren't being asked the right questions right now? I guess because I think one of the silver linings of this quarantine period has been seeing how many fantastic personalities there really are, how many creative minds throughout, the tennis game, and whether it's TikTok or, Instagram chats, whatever it may be, we've all enjoyed as tennis fans hearing from players. I guess why does it take a quarantine for tennis fans to get engaged with players like this?
I mean, that is a good question. I'll give you that.
Is that like calling me? That's the Vashik's funny. You're like, I guess that one's a good question.
You got me there. No, I think right now you're paying attention to their personalities and what they're interested in. And I'm going to put it, again, on the media a little bit for doing some homework and some research on getting to know some of these players. There are a decent amount of players that have posted on social media. I will say, right now you have more players posting a little bit more information, so you are able to get to know them a little bit better. But I think you have to go into all these interviews knowing that there's always some backstory. There's always different relationships with family, with friends, with pets, like off-court interests. Every single player has one. Like, they all have one. Like, we're all different personalities. That's fine. Even if they're not outgoing, there's still a story there. And I think that's what the aim should be in some of these interviews and these questions. And that's something that's what I'm doing Tennis United for. Like, I love kind of telling that story. Obviously I know them really well, so it's a little bit easier for me to have that conversation with them. But hopefully once the tour starts, we can continue doing this. Like, I think their answers can be just as interesting post-match or post-practice. Like, really, it is a balance between like all these backstories and off-court personalities, and then combining it with how they play, like what their personalities are on the court, how they react to their wins and their losses. And I think when players and athletes are good with their story kind of coming out the way they want, they're going to be pretty open. Like, I mean, look at someone like Novak right now doing all his Insta lives. Like, he's given away a lot of his secrets on fitness, on nutrition, mentality. Like, that's super cool. Like, I've tuned in a bunch to that. And really, he's not the only player that thinks in that way. He's being outgoing with it. But every player has a little bit different perspective right now. And that's one thing that I really have learned, because sometimes, with my really close friends, I kind of know how they are when times are tough or when you have those wins and losses. But some of the other players that I don't know as well, it's been really interesting to kind of see their perspective on what they think about this downtime, or if they're feeling anxious or sad or some of these negative emotions, like how they're dealing with it. And at the end of the day, there's a reason why they're all really good athletes, is because they all have a pretty good perspective on how to deal with it. I'm not saying they don't have negative emotions or they don't get upset or feel anxious or things like that. I'm just telling you that pretty much everyone I've talked to at least has an idea on how they combat that, or how they flip it around a little bit. And it's all in different ways, which I think is so meaningful for people out there. Like, that's what people also want to hear. Like, they want to know that you have what your pet's name is, but at the same time, they want to know, like, well, how are you getting through this quarantine, not knowing when you're going to go to work again? Like, that's super relatable. And I think everyone that I've talked to so far on Tennis United has really given a great perspective on that. And that's one of the things, like, I try to get out. As much fun as we have, like, hey, like, what's keeping you positive? Like, is it the people that are around you? Is it like your downtime? Do you read? Do you look at quotes? And really, I mean, like I said, every one of the players has a different perspective and a different story. I mean, there's no chance that you could get bored paying attention to the tennis tours.
Yeah, no, again, that's the joy of professional tennis. Week in, week out, day in, day out, there's always some sort of storyline for fans to enjoy. You've gotten to interview people like Berrettini, Tomljanovic, Jennifer Brady, Shelby Rogers on the show, FAA, the list goes on and on. Your favorite interview thus far, and the person you are chasing most to get on the show?
I got to pick a favorite. My favorite interview... that's a good question. In all honesty, the last charades game that I played with Team US was hilarious. Like, it
was amazing. Because
I jumped in, I was teamed up with Shelby Rogers. I actually thought we were pretty golden, I'm not gonna lie. And I actually did an Insta Live with her on the WTA's profile this earlier this week on Tuesday. And I was like, Shelby, how did we freaking lose this like game. Like there's no way Jem Brady and Coco come out with that. So I'm sure there'll be a rematch at some point, but Jem Brady, Coco Vandeweghe, Shelby Rogers, like they're some of my closest friends. Like we've hung out in the off season together. So that was a lot of fun. But I mean, really, I've actually gotten to know a lot of the players like better than I knew. When we did charades the week before, we had Diego Schwartzman, we had Team, we had Dennis Novak, and I know these guys and I've chatted with them, but like seeing them in a different sort of perspective was a blast. So I think I feel lucky that I get to host this show.
Mm-hmm. But who are you? There's got to be one.
Who am I chasing?
Yeah, there's got to be one.
I mean, of course I'm looking at, like, I'm texting Serena, and I'm like, yo, when are we doing your makeup tutorial? She did her skin routine the other morning. I'm like, I wrote down notes, like, this is what I want to know. I need to know that I need to put eye serum on before I put my eye cream on. Like, these are important details that you should be telling me on Tennis United. But look, I mean, I could go down the list. Basically, I'm chasing anyone who hasn't been on it. Like, I mean, I've texted a bunch of my friends. I was texting Waz on Instagram the other day. I want to get her on. But I think look, anybody who hasn't been on, I'm chasing you. I'm going to start stalking you actually now. So, by the way.
Well, all I'll just say is, I'm like a week 27 guest where it's an off week, and it's like, we know people aren't really going to watch because they're vacationing, but, I'm here for you should you need it. I guess, no player points to my name, but I can find a future to win a qualifying round or something, do my best.
Yeah. No. And honestly, I think we're going to branch out even to some other sports. Like, again, this is Tennis United, but we're going to bring in some other athletes. By the way, stay tuned for today. The episode is coming out. It's Friday today, right? It's Friday.
It is Friday.
Yeah, all right, it's Friday. Tennis United episode drops today. We have a few other athletes coming on. So I think that's going to be the next step too. Like, look, we're all coming together on this. There's a lot of sports seasons on hold. I know there's been discussions about some of them starting up again sooner rather than later, but I think that's a next step too. Let's go beyond tennis.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing it. And again, for all of our fans, I believe Tennis United comes out every Friday, right?
Every Friday, yep.
Yeah, so be sure to check that out. You can find it all over Tennis Twitter, of course, on YouTube as well. But you talk about the tour returning. I want to talk some rumors I have heard, and I believe it was announced officially, or not officially, but the rumors are now out there, so it's going to be happening, about a Laver Cup-style formatted event in Charleston. I saw an official tweet being posted, and, we had all heard rumors, but now I feel like I can ask you about it. What's the deal, B-Dog? Is it happening?
Right now, as far as I know, it is happening. There is going to be a team event, the Reopen Tour in Charleston. Super excited about it. Team event. There's going to be 16 players, so it's going to be 8-on-8. You're going to have 2 captains. I don't think we've selected the teams yet. That will be announced later. But I definitely know I'm going. I'm so pumped that it is in Charleston. Look, Charleston's one of my favorite cities. Really bummed I missed the Volvo Car Open in April. That was canceled. That was the tournament right after Miami. Obviously, it was canceled. So I'm really excited that we get to do something in Charleston. But it's going to be fun. Like, I think it's going to be interesting to have like a team event. You're going to have the team on the court. It's going to feel a little bit like Laver Cup. But I'm curious. Like, I haven't been a part of something quite like this before, so I'm really, really excited. I think it will be fun, and I think it will be really entertaining to watch. I think all the players are going to be pumped too. Like, we've all been practicing and training, and now we get to like a little bit of competition. I think everyone will be pumped for it.
No, I'm all in, and fake odds have you as a favorite to be a team captain. I mean, I could see you absolutely up there. That could be a Tennis United segment.
I put my resume out there, so Bob Moran knows. So we'll see. We'll get the list of players and then go from there.
Yeah, and it's awesome to hear. And an event like that, it would appeal to everyone, regardless of if we were in quarantine or not. But you sort of mentioned it there in your answer. How much are you itching to just get back on court and compete once again?
I mean, look, I'm a competitor. I'm a gamer. And
I had no idea.
As I do, I know. It's hard to believe. I get a little aggressive on the court. But, it's when there's nothing you can do about it, like, there's really no point in me wishing there was a tournament or wishing there was competition. I mean, I'm taking this time to sort of make some changes in my game that maybe I thought I never had time to do. And As much as I do like training and practicing, and look, whenever I retire, I'm sure I'll still keep playing tennis. I know I will stay fit for the rest of my life. So it's not, I'm not really doing this to get ready for a competition. That's what I had to change. Like, I'm practicing and I'm training not to get ready for competition, but just because I love tennis, because I like being fit, because I like testing new things out on the court. I like making changes that will potentially help me get better. Like, you just have to shift your reasons a little bit. But look, whenever competition gets back up and running, like, I'm going to be there. It was funny because I was talking to Carolina Pliskova, and she talked about how much that she wasn't a fan of practice. Like, she's like, look, I play for matches and I play to compete. And it's really funny because when you watch her, how chill is she on the court? Like, and that's what she's like, I love it. Like, I love the competition. And I'm like, I just wish I could stay as calm as you, like, during some of my matches. I feel like, I like have a lot of energy, and sometimes I go a little too far and I get a little tired. But I think a lot of the players kind of feel the same about competition. Like, we all don't mind training and practicing, but everybody's a gamer. Like, we're all doing this for a reason. And that's really, honestly, that's the biggest adjustment I think everyone's had to make is to find that motivation a little bit, because we don't know when we're going to compete. Like, everyone's doing this for competition. Like, you're training to feel good in a match. And that's where, again, I switched it and said, I'm training right now to feel good. I'm training to hit certain maybe physical markers that I want to hit in whether it's times, whether it's speed, like whatever it is. You just have to shift your goals a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And for you, you're still, I guess, 2 years now removed from the knee injury. And, I'm sure you don't ever want to overexert yourself in your training. You want to be ready for when competition comes back, but you don't want to, burn out too quickly. How has, maintaining that balance been during this off period? It's been, 10 weeks since competition, something like that. Have you been
10 weeks?
Yeah, I think something crazy. I know, a quick 10 weeks, I will say, and I haven't gained too much weight, so I'm pretty happy with myself. But yeah,
you're looking pretty slim still, so
thank
that's good.
You. Yeah, my mother would say I need to eat a little more. Yeah, okay. Exactly. But for you right now, how has been maintaining that balance between staying in shape but not burning out?
Yeah, no, honestly, that's a super important thing to keep in mind, because you have all this time. It's easy to be like, I could go run a marathon today because I'm not doing anything tomorrow or next week. But for me, there's still a balance. Like, look, I want to feel fresh every day for practice. I still take days off. I still switch my routines up. I mean, some days I'm out on the court for a few hours, and other days it's an hour and I'm done. So like Friday today, you hit me on an off day. So I just woke up, I had some pancakes, a coffee, probably gonna sit out by the pool. Cause again, like you can build your physicality and you can build your tennis back up. We don't need to go ham in the first week or two. And I think, like you said, this 10 weeks has kind of gone by fast, but I think the first 4 weeks were pretty slow, and now it's kind of sped up a little bit. But no, for me, my schedule is really important. I'm maintaining it so that I feel good week to week. I still have gradual improvements. There's no reason for me to go run 100 miles just because I could. Not that I'd want to. I'm not that kind of person. Give me some interval training, I'm good. If you told me I had to go run 5 miles, like, now I'll leave that for Wozniacki when she wants to run all her marathons. Like, you go, girl. I'll be there at the end cheering you on. But again, no, that it's helped me to switch my goals up. Like, I want to be fit. I'm still taking care of my body. I'm still doing my recovery. I'm still doing some ice baths. I'm still foam rolling. Like, there's still the sense of this balance in training and recovery throughout this whole period.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna be honest. You lost me at pancakes, chocolate chip, banana. What are we talking about?
First of all, that was like 4 minutes ago. That's where I lost you. Like, damn.
No, I heard it all. I'm just a little hungry this morning.
I have like a stack of chocolate chip pancakes over here, and I have my latte that's like made to perfection in the morning. I'm not gonna lie. I have 2 chefs living with me. I have my hitting partner, Ettore, that's here, and then I have Justin that's here, and they've been kind of cooking everything. So when I come down, like, pancakes are ready. Like, I just smelled it from my room, and I'm like, oh, it's time to wake up and go to breakfast. So again, I'm a little spoiled right now. So I'm definitely enjoying this.
Yeah, no, that's a win. This might be the question that gets you in trouble. It's crunch time right now. It's dinner, Friday night. You want to set the tone. Who are you asking to cook, Justin or not Justin?
Justin, 1,000%. Actually, like Justin just yesterday he made his skewered chicken. What was your recipe? Is that the marinated one?
Yeah.
Your chicken skewers on the grill, and then he made what was the rotisserie the other day?
Yeah, you have my attention. I like it.
A sirloin rotisserie out on the barbecue. He makes his own mustard barbecue sauce. That's like unbelievable. No, Justin's like ridiculous. We've been grilling romaine. We put like everything bagels, like seasoning on it. I mean, I'm telling you, like Justin's cooking skills are 2 thumbs up. He's cooking every time. That's an easy answer.
That sounds like a win. Are you guys enjoying some nice Kimosabi mezcal on the side?
Of course. No, I've been making margarita. I mean, come on. We have a pool. Like, it's 100 degrees out. Like, you got to have a margarita. So, Kimosabi. We've been mixing. Drink of choice right now is we have like this cherry. You've been doing the cherry. He's been doing the cherry lime margarita, and I like the grapefruit celery bitters. It's called a Dancing Queen. So it's really refreshing. Grapefruit juice. You have grapefruit sparkling water, celery, simple syrup, little celery to stir it in. It's healthy. Come on. Double shot of Kimosabe. It's perfect. By the pool.
Yeah, that's what I watched a video of you. Some sort of you were at the bar for Tennis Warehouse, and you had 2 people with you. And right away, you go, "I'm pouring doubles," just so everyone knows. And they were like, "Yeah, okay." And that was a great piece of content as well. That was so.
I'm pouring doubles just so everyone is aware of what I am serving them. Yes, 100% doubles, and that actually on that video I was making Dancing Queen. That's like my favorite drink right now.
Mm-hmm. No, it looks delicious. But so this is the question you may have never been asked before, and nutrition has become such an important part of professional athletics, especially as more information becomes available, training, staying in shape, all of that. It's become not that it was ever out of style, but it's certainly the fad now. You're posting Instagram workouts, whatever it may be. You're also still human, and being on the road, 40 weeks a year, I'm sure you get bored, you get a little burnt out, you just need to kick back and relax. BMS, B-Dog, my girl, have you ever played a match hungover?
No, I haven't.
Never?
I know it's actually kind of surprising because everyone's probably like, no, Bethanie's a rebel, 100%. Here's the thing. I work so hard to feel good that I just don't feel like I could let myself do that. I mean, like I have a lot of food intolerances. When I first took the test, this is probably like 6 years ago, I had 28 different foods that I had to avoid, like gluten, dairy, pineapple, eggs, vanilla. Like who's allergic to vanilla? That's everything. And so I feel like when I made the decision to kind of go all in, like again, I'm an all in person. So I'm like, okay, I got to go all in and I'll avoid it all. I just felt that much better that it made it worth it. Look, if I didn't notice a difference, I would not do it. And I feel like the same thing. If I didn't notice a difference, if I could have a couple glasses of wine or be hungover the next day and actually physically feel reasonably good recovery wise, like I probably would do it, but I know for me, I just don't. And I can't, like, to me, especially in competition, like I couldn't let myself do that. There's been a few practices where I have, and that's probably where I tested it out, just because I'm just sweating bullets and I'm just like, oh, it's only 72 degrees. It feels like it's 100. Like it's just I have not. And that's actually a really honest answer.
Yeah, no, that's a win. I mean, I feel like, because you hear things, of course. You hear about some parties that have been legendarily thrown at, like, Airbnbs at the challenger level, and you're just like, wow, really? You guys were doing that? That's ridiculous. But
I mean, but some players I feel like can do that. Like, and I'm not going to, like, throw out names or anything, but I'm like, if you feel good and you can still, like, compete, like, there's been some people that have just been like, no, I played better. And I'm like, I wish. Like, I would do it. I'd totally do it if I felt better.
Yeah, 2 weeks in Miami and then a week in Charleston, I'd be like, I'm going out. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I got to do at least one night on the town. But
but I balance it out. Look, you usually have a day off here and there, and I am up for that. Like this year, we went to New Zealand really early. I finished the last part of my off season in New Zealand before the tournament was going to start and before the Australian swing was starting. And I'm not going to lie, like we went to wineries almost every single day. And at some point I was like, no, I physically need to feel better than this, as much fun as I'm having. But yeah, there's definitely, I think balance is key. And I think it's a personal preference. Like there's some players on tour that have never had a sip of alcohol either. And it's what makes them feel good, what they enjoy. For me, I like finding a balance. There's times where I want to feel great. And there's times where it's like, you know what, I have a few days. I'm going to enjoy the city.
Yeah, tequila before a match day would just be devastating. I'd just be like, I can't do it.
Look, tequila, like the reason I pick mezcal is because like I actually feel pretty good. Like it kind of warms you up. It's like a happy buzz. So yeah. I don't mind that. But before I play, I feel like I'd just be sweating way too much.
It makes a lot of sense why you wouldn't want to be doing that before. But, you hear rumors. So I figured I'd ask, throw in a new question. But, for you, I also know the last time we talked, you guys were about to launch Lucky in Love, the clothing line right on your birthday, by the way, which
yes.
we celebrated at the time. I imagine things have been going well since then. But, how has everything been going with Lucky in Love?
No, it's been great. And I think like everything else, it's like across the board, things have kind of stalled and everyone's just, making it up along the way a little bit, because again, I was supposed to be wearing all my outfits through the clay court season. Like I had my collection for Indian Wells, I had a collection for Miami, and then I had my French Open collection. So all of those were coming out, and we had to figure out like, all right, Bethanie's not playing any of these, so what are we gonna do? But obviously, I still have my lines with Lucky in Love. You can get them at luckyinlove.com. You can get them at tenniswarehouse.com. And it's really been a lot of fun. I mean, the next few steps might be, are we doing a little bit more athleisure? That could be, are there going to be leggings and tank tops coming out? But right now, I think the way things are going, you're going to see tennis courts opening up a little bit so everyone can put their new outfits on, look super cute. You've been wearing sweatpants and sweatshirts and pajamas for the last 10 weeks, so why not start looking cute now?
Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble, but I would show you my legs right now, and it's just sweatpants. That's all it's been. I would do like
exactly.
I just do.
I agree. Yes, there we go.
Exactly.
I know. Exactly.
You'll notice that leg wasn't fully extended because I haven't been stretching. But
the hammies are a little tight over there.
Oh, they gave up years ago. I will never. My senior year of high school, we practiced in the morning, and then we were on a bus ride. This is my one tennis story, and we practiced way too much because we were going up to states, and it was the day before, and they're like, "We want you to be ready, whatever." And so whatever, we're skipping school. Cool, I'm in. But we practiced for 3 hours, and then we get on the bus immediately. And, of course, we're in high school. We're all still midst of puberty, so everyone passes out. And, I'm sitting on the bus, full hamstring cramp because, I'm not the best athlete. And I, fall on the floor. I'm like, guys, but everyone's got their headphones on. And that's when I knew I wasn't going to be a pro tennis player. That was the moment.
It was at this moment that you knew.
Yeah, that was the exact. Yeah, it's like it's over. It's not happening. The hamstring has given up.
When the hamstrings lock up, I feel like it's calves and hamstrings. I mean, what can you do like that?
Yeah, you're just like
cramp.
Yeah, you're just like, why is... Yes, you're just like, why? What did I do to deserve this? But anyways, that's where the alcohol comes in, right? You drink those problems away.
I haven't been one of those. I'm not really a cramper. I've stayed relatively hydrated. If I get sick... those are the only times I've cramped on court, and let me tell you, cramping is just, you can't do anything about it. It will take
miserable.
The best of an athlete down. So
yeah. No, I completely agree with you, and even it'll take the worst of the athletes down as well. So yeah,
nobody's safe. Nobody's safe.
Exactly.
Both ends of the spectrum, everybody's in the same place when they're cramping.
Exactly. It's a lose-lose. Well, you have been so kind with your time, Bethanie, and so my last question for you, for all of the fans out there who want to hear more from you. Obviously, Tennis United is one avenue they can turn to, but where else should they be following your stuff?
Listen, I feel like I am everywhere. I am on Instagram. Honestly, Instagram is where I spend most of my time. I am on Facebook and Twitter a little bit, but I'm posting pretty much my daily routines on Insta Story, putting out posts every day. So if you really want to sort of follow along with what I'm doing, who I'm around, what I'm up to, just follow me on Instagram.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Bethanie, B-Dog, thank you as always for taking the time to chat with us. It is always such a pleasure. And, again, Mike is always open for you should you want to come back on the pod.
Perfect. No, of course I'll come back. The last time we did this was my birthday, like March 23rd.
I think it was the day before.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
It's May what?
Yeah, like 22nd. All right, every 2 months. That makes sense.
We can do it a little more than every 2 months.
Yeah, no, that works for
now
me.
that I'm thinking about it, a lot happened in 2 months. Wow. We could have probably chatted for another 2 hours about everything that's gone down.
Yeah, no,
All right, we'll do it. We'll squeeze the time a little bit more.
We'll figure something out. Yeah, but,
right.
B-Dog, thank you as always. Stay safe, stay healthy. We will talk to you again soon.
Perfect. See ya.
Yeah.
The amazing Mr. Please himself. But right now,
Thank you all for taking the time to watch my interview with B-Dog, Bethanie Mattek-Sands, and of course thank you to her for agreeing to have to stare at me on screen for 45 minutes. I wouldn't wish that task on even my worst enemies, and of course it's always such a pleasure to have her back on the show, and so we look forward to hopefully doing that many more times in the near future as well. Now, for all of you Cracked Racquets fans tuning into this, you should know that this is not where our YouTube content ends. So many great projects going on right now, things such as Overserved, our weekly show that pokes fun at all of the comedy that happens throughout the professional tennis world in any given week. Of course, you could find CR Classics on there as well, our look at some of our favorite matches from tennis's past, watch highlights of the matches, hear commentary from me, and a slew of guests as we break down again some of our favorites from throughout tennis's history. And of course, if you've missed any of our content, be sure to go to our website, crackedrackets.com. So you guys know the deal, the podcast, the Great Shot podcast, the Mini Break podcast, the Crack Interviews podcast, as well as the Inside Out podcast. Go like, go rate, go subscribe, review, share them with your friends. Also, again, be sure to not miss any of our YouTube content by hitting that subscribe button right now. Shout out, as always, to the super producers Max Fligner and Daniel Westoff for the of an editing job they do day in, day out, making all of this possible. One last big thank you to our guest, B-Dog, Bethanie Mattek-Sands, for taking the time to chat with us today. But we hope you've all enjoyed another edition of the Cracked Interviews podcast, and we'll see you all next time. Thanks, everyone.